Hi everybody. I wanted to finish a little bit more on messages from Michael and see if I can if we can understand the types of souls a little better. I can read you some of it, like an infant soul, a baby soul, a young soul, what those cycles mean, which may last many lifetimes, and then what particular soul you are, what kind of soul you are, like sage, warrior, slave. See how far I can get before boring you to death. So for those of you who can't pick up the book or would rather I went through little parts of it. Alright, so this is just going to be reading because it's kind of the way it is. So anyway, alright, let's go here. Alright, the infant or baby or firstborn soul. This is when nobody probably is still being birthed from the entity at this time in this world that we live in. But I'm going to read it anyway. The motto of the infant soul is "Let's not do it." These cycles, like physical infancy, have a very limited range of perceptions and activities. For that reason, many infant souls are born into a very simple situation of life and will find any demand or complexity frightening. New experiences are more apt to terrify than excite the infant soul, like being a baby. The infant or firstborn soul perceives itself and the world around it simply as me and not me. In this cycle, there are no racial memories. If not me is perceived as hostile and unkind early in life, withdrawal occurs. And a condition known as autism often develops. If this perception occurs, later, the infant soul may react with unchecked violence, sadism, murder. This is a very underdeveloped person without visible cause, acts of unbelievable cruelty. Perhaps there are some infant souls in the world. Sadism, murder. They do not know the difference between right and wrong, but it can be taught the laws of common sense and decency. Intellect is a product of culture, and even firstborns and infant souls can be taught to read and write and complete arithmetic. Infant souls rarely seek higher education unless forced. They are bewildered and hostile in strange situations. Infant souls do not, in general, seek employment as such. It is characteristic they share with old souls. Many infant souls are regarded by complex and technological cultures as mentally lacking and may erroneously be identified as mentally deficient. The infant soul adopts the religion of his parents without modification, and they just kind of follow along. Although it is of interest is cursory and it is understandingly poor. The infant soul perceives love only in the form of lust. It performs the sex act with all the frenzy of a wild animal, completely dependent upon, this kind of sounds like some people who are living today, like some serial killers, and as some innate estrus, and both sexes lost to the higher cycles. It is powerless to change this. Infant souls cook and eat to survive, but the food is usually tasteless and overcooked. These souls are fearful of almost everything, and their kitchens are antiseptically clean, usually. Infant souls are often bitten by dogs who have no previous history of biting, simply because of their inordinate fear. Most infant souls would not be caught dead on horseback. Allergies to animals are denials in infant souls. Okay, that's your infant soul. It does kind of sound like people who are living today. I mean, some like really sick, perverted people who have like no conscience, no sense of right or wrong. The baby soul. This is the next cycle up after you passed all your challenge of your infant soul. The motto of the baby soul is "Do it right or not at all." These cycles are more complex. The soul, so to speak, has learned to toddle, and in these cycles will learn to run and climb trees. The baby soul perceives itself and the world around it as me and many other me's. The baby soul forms strong beliefs early in childhood, borrowed from those around it, and these are literally unshakable. The baby soul is normally agreeable and pillar of a community until an opposing viewpoint is often expressed. But inwardly, the baby soul is bewildered and baffled by the difference. Outwardly, it will express anger, hostility, negative emotional energy, belligerence. The baby soul occasionally seeks higher education and does well in a small conservative liberal arts college, trade school, etc., learns proper subjects, and often is a good student. The baby soul sometimes seeks to become the big fish in the tiny puddle rather than seeking national acclaim. No matter what area of endeavor they enter, baby souls seek to fulfill their roles in a different sense, since perceiving the status quo is the goal of this cycle. The baby soul tends to be fundamentalistic in its religious beliefs. Personification of the Godhead is strongest in this cycle. The baby soul believes in the forces of evil. The baby soul views its own sexuality with a vague uneasiness, and if the culture fosters such, will think of it somehow as shameful. The baby soul will be embarrassed by over displays of honest sexuality, and it will strive to keep the others around it bound down by its own reprehensible moral code. Behind closed doors, the baby soul is more often than not quite as prudish as it is in public, and seldom sustains any sort of sexual pleasure. Not having experienced such, it naturally does not believe in the existence of the experience. Just as the baby soul's kitchen is antiseptically clean, so the foods of the baby soul cooks are tasteless and uninteresting. Baby souls know what kind of food is good for you. They will rarely venture beyond the most simple fare. Most baby souls sanitize. It's good right now. Any medical patient who fixates on a particular organ system can usually be categorized immediately. For instance, all the elderly ladies with bowel fixations are likely to be, scholar's transcript, baby souls. Baby souls are ashamed of their sexuality, whether it be homosexual or heterosexual. Baby souls are prone to use the courts excessively when their sense of justice has been outrageously insulted. I think they're hypochondriac. Okay. Yes, I think there are some baby souls and infant souls alive on this earth. I really think there are. The young soul. The motto of the young soul is "Do it my way." This is an adventuresome time with the soul ranging into new territory. This is where the movers and the shakers are found. Young souls are eager to take on tasks in the physical plane and often set themselves impossible goals in their lives. They are architects of civilization. The young soul perceives itself and the world around it in quite a different manner than in the preceding cycles. It perceives itself as me and perceives you as you, and it perceives you as different from me, and experiences the need to change you, bring you around to its point of view. Young souls rarely question their motivation or are limited to their perceptions in the way of that the mature soul is not. The young soul almost always seeks higher education, usually graduate degrees. The young soul is a timeless worker for its cause and will go through unbelievable hardship to bring this cause to bear, education being an example of this. Achievement is a watchword of this soul. Young souls seek the larger ocean as the sphere of their activities. The young soul, if religiously inclined, tends toward orthodoxy in the extreme. It will campaign tirelessly against all religious reforms. But the young soul is atheistic. An atheist. It will equally tirelessly in its efforts will be equally as tireless in its efforts to wipe out the orthodoxy of others. If the young soul's own personal opinion of sex is rather low, it would do best to convince others around it that sex is evil and should be eschewed. Renunciate monks, they use a lot of 70s language here we don't use, and nuns are often young souls. They renounce boldly and take every opportunity to remind the world sound around them that they have to be renounced. On the other hand, the young soul can be equally zealous proponent of total sexual freedom. The young soul perceives love as eros, solely predicted upon those expectations it has of others around it. If the others fail to live up to their expectations, the young soul can hate with an equal zest. Sexual conflicts can be agonizing in this cycle. Early training versus internal urge. Sounds scary. Early cycle young souls tend to adhere to food patterns learned in childhood. It is the middle of this cycle, experimentation is rampant. The appetite is usually poor. Late cycle young souls continue to experiment with food, and foreign food fetishes will develop. Racial memories are stronger now, and deja vu draws them to certain types of food. Young souls are often own pets, such as ocelots and lapsatsus. Young souls ride the rodeo. Allergies to animals are denials, we remind you. The young soul is very much attached to the physical body, and lessons are not often learned, even in an astral interval. The young soul seeks to return as soon as possible. Being out of the body is unpleasant for the young soul. It is terrified of the baby soul, interested in the mature soul, and welcoming the older soul. The mature soul. This is where most of the people seem to fall in. The motto of the mature soul is do it any place but here. These are difficult cycles, demanding much introspection and often seeming to give little peace in return. The hard-won lessons of the young cycles are brought to bear in the mature soul. This is the most difficult cycle of all, for the mature soul perceives others as they perceive themselves. Because of these perceptions, the mature soul often seeks to sever relationships, seemingly for no reason, or for the same token, seek to perpetuate outwardly inappropriate relationships. If you and I are both mature souls within this framework, are also your experience of me. In other words, while I am experiencing you, you are experiencing me. And at the same time, you are aware of my experience, and upon this deeper awareness, you and I will base any future social intercourse. As you can imagine, sometimes this makes living difficult. The mature soul is not as open to the occult as the old soul. The mature soul perceives beauty with clarity not found in the earlier cycles. At the end of the cycle, the mature soul begins to perceive truth. This prepares the soul for the search. This is not to say the mature soul is isolated from its fellows, quite the contrary. When a mature soul perceives the unhappy ones, they desire to shield themselves from unpleasant vibrations. See, they do a lot of 70s talking. You have already experienced the backlash from this, but know this well, you cannot alter their play no matter how much you love them. It is the nature of the mature soul to seek and to question the motivation for all life's actions. When this occurs, there is a gradual opening up of the soul. When this happens, we cannot make limited contact. More of the unused portion of the brain will come into play during this cycle, and psychic phenomena occur with more frequency until they are fully acknowledged and the serious work begins. This is made more difficult because the cycle is really fought with artificial behavior, more so than any other cycle. The perception of the older soul begins to emerge, but the understanding does not. Mature souls feel all of the hostile vibrations around them. They have a need to remove themselves from this, but are too caught up in traditional moves to remove themselves entirely. They feel a certain sense of duty which does not dissipate until the transition is made. That is why a skilled therapist would be of help in this cycle. By therapist, we do not mean a young soul practitioner, a young soul practicing psychiatry either. In a mature cycle, there is an acute perception of the veil that lies behind the real and artificial space, as never before. The longing to penetrate this veil and go beyond the senses to glimpse the panadimensional, really talk weird in the 70s, to know that you are not alone in the world. You must walk out on that thin ice, and that way test the physical universe in response to your plea. Most mature souls feel this, and in some way translate it into dreams of incredible strength and strange beauty. That's when you start to develop your psychic abilities, I guess. Not many, unfortunately, retain the memory of those dreams and question their meaning. When a soul is not in teaching, encounters the true personality in essence for the first time, it is, of course, a devastating experience. This usually comes about in moments of extreme stress, grief, and sometimes trauma. It can, however, come about if the soul is suddenly catapulted into a situation so unusual that none of the tapes, memories of experience of previous lives, is applicable. It applies in the case of dream as well as unusual. Well, it just means you start to develop your psychic ability. The mature soul seeks higher education, not always in an institutional setting. It is often too uncomfortable in a school setting. The mature soul makes a massive contribution to knowledge, both philosophical and scientific. Karl Marx, Alfred Adler, Fritz Perls, Sigmund Freud, Immanuel Kant, Aristotle, and Albert Einstein were all mature souls. There is a real change of emphasis in public lives and careers of mature souls. Mature souls pursue their public lives for very different reasons. After all, they are questioning, and their work will coincide with the nature of their quest. Religion becomes self-motivated in the mature soul cycle. Mature souls see a quiet face, Quakerism, Unitarianism, Buddhism. With the right partner, another mature soul who has become centered with an older soul, a mature soul can be an ardent lover. The love is long and deep, lasting. The agape is possible during the cycle if the inner conflicts are resolved. With the wrong partner, apathy, impotency, frigidity, infidelity. The soul has more of a tendency to mate for life than any of the other cycles, providing a comfortable mating occurs. Mature souls make fine chefs. They enjoy precision cooking and gourmet dining. Their hollandaise sauce does not curdle, it would not dare. Wine fetishes are at the height in this cycle. A mature soul would never serve a Zinfandel with lobster. I didn't know that. An old soul would not hesitate for a moment. A Zinfandel happened to be his favorite wine. An old soul wouldn't do that. Pets belonging to a mature soul would often reflect their owner's personalities. Many winners of obedience trials belong to mature souls. Mature souls ride to the hounds. And other words, they kind of follow the crowd. They're kind of afraid to color outside the box. They kind of stay. They're always held back. As if this were not enough, infant souls are often given to mature souls for growth. Alright, the old soul. Alright, I'm going to stop it at that because this gets kind of long. I want to explain to you about the types of souls, like the slave soul and the warrior soul and things like that. I want to explain that too, but I'm gonna chop it here because I want to get into the old soul because it's very interesting, and a lot of us are old souls, especially with spirituality. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope if you have a question, just ask me. It's 7 cycles. There's always 7 cycles. It's the mystic number, and I just happen to have a 7 middle cycle, but not all people choose to follow it. My father had a 7 middle cycle, and he did not. It was just a plain loner. Anyway, so I will talk to you soon.